The combo box in PowerApps is always one of the most challenging controls, so let's see if the modern version of the combo box gets any better. So what we're going to do today is we're going to just walk through all the pieces of the combo box, right? So we're going to talk about default selected items, the selected items property as well, so kind of getting data in, getting data out, working with it, some of the item limits, and just try to help you guys better understand the control. Also, we'll talk about doing people search with it, because I think that comes up a lot. So we'll look at using the Office 365 users with it as well. So if that sounds like fun, then let's switch over to my desktop and take a look. All right, so here I just got a blank app ready to go, and all I did was added a data source, so we'll have that to play with in a second. Now, in order to use the modern combo box, right, we have to first go up here to do our settings, and then to turn on, we go here to updates and modern controls and themes and say on and close. And now we go to insert. Underneath the input menu here, we've got the dropdown, which is still in preview, but we're really going to focus here on the combo box. I will say they're very similar this time around, but we're not going to worry about the dropdown today. So the first thing it wants to know is like, hey, what items do you want? It has a default property up here of item 1, 2, and 3. So that would just be simple item 1, 2, and 3. But we probably want a little bit more thorough. So we're going to connect my SharePoint list in here. All this would be the same if we're doing a Dataverse table, SQL, it doesn't matter, right? But we're going to choose Mega. And so now it's like, hey, you want to replace some stuff? Sure, do your thing. And so now if we do this and hit play, if we click on the little drop down symbol here, we can see that we have item title 1 all the way to 800. This is why I used Mega, because it has about 10,002 items. I don't know why it has 10,002, but it has 10,002 items in it. But you can see that only the first 800 show up. Unfortunately, as far as I know, with the modern combo box, that's all you get, right? So if you wanted to somehow interact with item 801 or 1,000 or whatever, like that's not gonna be the thing, right? And really that makes sense though, because who wants to have a drop down with thousands and thousands of things? So most likely what you'd want to do is get in here, and instead of just using an entire list, maybe you would do something like filter Mega, where animal type equals, and then I think we have cows. And so now if we do that, we hit the drop down, and now you can see that it starts skipping around, right? So it's 8, boom, 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 boom. And more importantly, you're going to see that it goes way past 800. And so it got the first 3,970 of those, right? So 309, I don't know, right? Basically, it went and got the first 800 matches, right? So the first 800 records that had an animal type of cow. So just keep that in mind. Like the way that the items property works is it's only going to return a maximum of 800 items no matter what, right? Like even if you think, well, Shane, what if you go change the delegation limit, right? The delegation limit is the default of 500, I assume. Yep. And even if we change this to 2,000, it's still just going to return 800 items. Okay. Now in a minute, we'll look at maybe how to do a little bit more with that. But for now, we're just going to leave it at that. It returns 800 items and that's it. Okay. Now with a combo box, that's the first challenge, right? As we have this, what items we want in there. So we've got our stuff. Now, if we click over here on fields, you're going to notice that there's different fields here, right? So it just defaulted to title, animal color, animal type, and attachments. But in this dropdown, we only see the first one, the title. And so that's a little bit different than the classic control, which we were able to show 1 or 2 fields, right? There were some settings over here we can control this. This one does not work the same way. Basically, whatever's at the top of the list will be shown. And really, there's no reason to have the rest of this stuff. So we can just remove all of these if we want. Okay, so now it's just that, and we'll still just get the same results over here, which are our items. Now, continuing over here on the right, we can also kind of see there's some other things here. Really allow multiple selections. So this is off by default. If you say on, this does have a better interface than our classic control, because now we get little checkboxes. So I'd be like, all right, I want 10, 27, and 49, right? And then they go. Now, one thing I don't like about this though, notice that kind of writes nicely. But if we hit the drop down again, let's pick 54 and 60 as well. You'll notice that it just kind of truncates those off. The classic control, it would have said you have 6 items selected or whatever number I have selected. And then you have to hit the drop down to see it. This one basically just starts writing. And when it runs out of room, it's like, what do you do? Now, if it's in a different mode, so if we go over here and change its display mode from edit to view, when it does view, at least then they add the little ellipses, so like the little dot, 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 so you kind of get the hint. But the other one, it does not. So just keep that in mind. That can be a little confusing, a little bit different. So we'll change that display mode back to edit. So that's allow multiple selections, allow searching, that is on as well. So if we hit play here, when we click in here, if we go here and let's click again. I clicked too many times. So if I start to type, so I can just be like, hey, I want to search for title 80. So the only one that matches that is 801. And if we select that one, now it is added to my list. Now there isn't like a little X here to clear this out. You could manually delete it, or when you click out, it goes away. And now when you click back in, it is gone. And if we scroll down here, like way down here, right? There it was. 801 is selected. So that interface does let you kind of work through that. But you're searching. And once again, also with classic controls, I can control what field I was searching. With modern controls, I do not. Also, classic controls, the way that they worked was a search function. It really just did a search query against the data source. So like if you were using Dataverse, search was delegable, it worked. In this particular case, when you do these searches, it's just searching those first 800 items that you got back. So it's not talking to the data source. It's not doing anything. So whether it's a non-delegable data source like SharePoint or a delegable one like Dataverse, it's not going to matter. It's just searching those 800 items. So once again, different, good, bad, it's up to you, right? Now, what if you're like, well, Shane, I need the old way. I want to do the old way of searching. All right, fair enough. Well, let's first insert myself here a button. I just need to reset this control, right? So I'm gonna go here. We all know to reset a control, hopefully you all know, you just type in reset and then the control name. So in our case, ComboBox 1, Canvas 1. And then now if I press the button, boop, it goes reset, right? Just so, makes our little testing here easier. So the reason I wanted to show you that one. Okay, so if you wanted this to search the more traditional way, then instead of this whole filter that, we don't even leave the filter there, who cares, right? But what you would do is you actually write your search function. So make search and then comma, and then for the text, you're going to do self. So that's the control, the combo box itself, dot search text. So that's whatever they've just typed in there, and you do a comma, and you be like, all right, I want you to search the title field. So this, now you will see the delegation warning because we're no longer using the combo box's search capabilities directly. We're now saying, hey, formula that drives a table that is being shown in the combo box, I want you to be tied to the search function against the data source. And so that's why delegation has re-entered the picture, right? We're building our own search interface here, not using the control search 800. Okay, and so now that it's done, if we hit play, if we go in here and we start to type in, oh, the search text is still there. It's not showing us to us. Let's hit reset so it all goes away. Oh, interesting. Well, it's confused. All right. Well, we'll do 70 this time. So we'll just say title 70. And so then now you can see that it's pulling back all of the ones where the title 70 is in there. So all of the 70s. And keep in mind, it's also my filtered criteria. Like, we're not going to talk about nested functions. If you don't understand how you nest filters in search, go watch that video up there. But this is now giving us a full-on search experience, right? Because if we pull everything out of there, now we're like, all right, we just literally get 8 to 3970. Remember, because that's what we got from that filter output. But as soon as we start to search, so title, and then we'll do 90, right? Now we're up in the, right? We're seeing all of the records that are cows, right? So it's returning the filtered cows and then it's searching those, and then it is finding all the 90s, and that's how we're getting all these big numbers in here. So that's how you institute your custom search if you want to actually go back to search, right? Remember, this is not delegable, but like when we did this, right? We cleared out all of this, then this is just returning the, in this case, the first 800 cows that match. And then when we do search, we're back to just searching those, right? So if we do title 90 this time, we only get 907 and 909 because those are only 2 matches. We don't get all those 9,000 numbers, right? So 2 different ways to do it, 2 different results. Hey, if you're enjoying this, right, you probably enjoy working with us, right? Over at PowerApps911.com, we've got project services, we got mentoring, so we can help you everywhere from a 30-minute just fix your problem to ongoing monthly support to full-on scale project work. And of course, we got the training as well. So if we can do anything to help, just hit us up, www.powerapps911.com. All right, so now let's talk for a minute about the default selected items, right? This is probably the most complicated one. And there's a more advanced version. It's on the classic, but all the stuff there still pertains. So go watch the more advanced version. But I want to kind of give you a good look at this here. So when we go to a combo box, if we click on default selected items, what's really important to understand is that this needs to be either a record or it needs to be a table. All right. So like if I want this thing to default to item title 22 here, I can't just go up here and be like, all right, well, that's just the text item title 22. That's going to throw an error. If you hover, it's going to tell you expected a table value. So, but it should say a table or record, but whatever, right? So that's not going to work. So the most correct way to do this typically is going to be something like this. So you'd say lookup from Mega, right? That's our properties, where title equals item title 22. So we do that, and then you can see right there that it turns 22. And if we go and we change this to be something 30, 49, 51, get rid of 22, right? When we click out, we've got that. But if we do the reset, it puts us back to item title 22. Okay. So if you wanted to just return a specific record like that, you could do a lookup. If you want to return, make it select all of the ones where the animal color was red, right? We can do a table here. So we could do filter mega animal color equals red. So then that's going to return a table of all the red records. And then if we get in here, all right, never mind. That totally freaked out my browser, right? Because it then had to process all 800 items locally. So don't do anything insane like that. But normally you wouldn't be trying to filter such a large data set like that. So, but that would be the way you would have done it. You would have done a table of the correct results here. And then that would absolutely work, assuming that you didn't also have another filter and all the nesting I was doing. I've made it too angry, okay? So we're going to skip that demo because, like I said, I stood here for the last 10 minutes. My browser was just frozen. So the other thing I wanted to show you on default selected items, this is a little bit of a change that I found was kind of cool that I haven't seen documented, but I thought was a nice touch. So say we go back to the example where I'm like, hey, I just really want to show item title 22. Oh, let's reset this thing again. Reset. Okay, back to normal. So let's just go back to this idea. I want to default to item title 22. So if you go over here and you look at your fields, and you're like, all right, I just have the one field. That's all you should have anyway. If you go here, you can actually hard code this. You can make a record yourself. So a little JSON, right? Curly bracket, name of the column's title, colon, and then item title 2022, like so and so. Oh, no trailing parenthesis there. And so then that will actually make it default, right? Like if I change this, let's just change it to something else. 51, 54, room, all right, reset it back to 22. So that is a departure. All it needs is a record that matches the fields that are shown. So if I were, for whatever reason, because there's no reason to do this, but if you had left these two fields selected here, now if we do this, I notice that all of a sudden, if we go, we'll select, 50s again. Boom, when we do a reset, it doesn't return anything. If it doesn't return anything, that means that your default selected items is not correct. The reason is because we said fields, we added a second field. So if I was to figure out what the animal type is, oh, it's cow, I know that, right? So if I went here, I would then do animal type equals is like that, and then a cow. And so then now it's back to defaulting, okay? There's no reason to have two fields over here. Don't do it. But if you do, for whatever reason you did it, you shouldn't have, then, oh, I'm full of myself. Anyway, that'll work, right? So it just needs an exact match. So that is a lot easier than the lookup. Also, the nice thing is that by doing it this way, right? Let's get rid of this. It also means it doesn't have to call out to, it doesn't have to do that whole lookup, right? So pretty nice. Now you might be thinking, well, Shane, is one of the reasons that you need to include certain fields so you can get those out. So if we go over here with the label on the screen, put it over here. And so we could try combo box 1, combo box canvas 1, dot, and then we have selected and selected items. So just like we did with the classic control. Selected is the last record they chose. Selected items is the table of the record. So if you're doing multiple select, you're going to want selected items. If you're doing just a single record, then you can go ahead and use selected. So like if we just do selected dot and we do animal color, you're going to see that it should say whatever color those animals are. It's red, even though we did not include animal color as a field here. Okay. So don't think that you have to add stuff here to get it to be on the output. It doesn't work that way. This is just for the input side. Okay. So we've got that. Now, yeah, I wanted you to see the selected animal color. So if I choose multiple, right, it's whatever the last record is I clicked on. So don't ever use selected if you're going to allow multiple, because you're only getting the last record, not all the records. So if you're going to do multiple, then what you want to do instead, insert another label here. I guess I should call them text now. I don't know, whatever. But you're going to go here. Now, if you try to do combo box 1, and then you're like, all right, well, we'll just do that same thing. Selected items dot animal color, like so. Like, it doesn't work. If you hover, it will tell you expected a text value. What are you giving it in this case? Look over here on the right. You're giving it a table. So to get the information out of there, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to use the function called concat. Concat takes a table of data, like the selected items, animal colors, and it says, all right, I want to show, oh, actually we want to do selected items, comma. Then we will say, hey, I want to show the animal color. So there's my column. And then we could do a third piece here and be like, I want to separate them by a comma and a space. And so then now we see all the animal color ones, right? Let me just make that font bigger. The default fonts in these things are too small. 25. There we go. Okay. So that is how that works. Now, if you're thinking, well, Shane, what if I want the animal color and the title, right? You just go here and just write a formula, right? So it'd be like title, ampersand, space, something like that, right? And then now, if we go in here and we choose, we hit play, and so we choose 20, boom, 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 right? So we're able to see that. Like whatever you know how to write as a PowerApps text formula, you have all the columns available to you. So you just put those together. And if you don't want to separate them, you just want to shove them all together, this whole step is optional. And so then now they're all shoved together. So that's how you get stuff out of there, right? Because a lot of times you're having them choose and you're doing the favorite color. You just want to grab all of those, or you want to grab a group of email addresses. And if I was grabbing email addresses, I probably want to send it in a 2-line. So I would just make them semicolon separated. And then now they'd all be email addresses, right? Like we could just say, let's go here and say, give me the created by dot email. It's all going to be me. I created all those records. But now if we hit play and we select a bunch of these, right? It just all be a bunch of semicolon separated email addresses. So you could put that in a 2-line of an email. Okay. So that is that. Now I'm trying to think of other things here that are probably worth noting. Right? So we've got multiple selection, we got searching. The only other one I thought was kind of a nice little get here was border radius. So it used to be in classic controls, you could only have square, but everything else could have rounded corners. So now you have rounded corners. So there you go. Big change there. Yeah, there's other little things here, but visually they look different. You don't have as much control over the visuals, just like we've talked about with the other ones. But hopefully that at least kind of gives you some ideas there. So now the last thing I want to do here is I want to talk to you about using it with people search. I think that comes up a lot for people, right? So if we go over here to our data sources, add data, and we search for Office 365 users here and add that connector in. And now if we go here and choose ourselves a combo box again. And so what you're going to do here for the items property is going to be something to the effect of Office 365 users.search user v2. And then really what you can do here is you could just do a straight up, boom, is search term required. And then you would set that to false, close that, close that. Now, this is the part we always mess up. That returns a record. You want a table. So you just do a dot value. And then now we've got all of the people listed here. And if we go here to fields, we can be like add field and be like, all right, I want to show just their display name. Add, we say play. And then now we've got all of these lovely people. Okay. And if we choose Chewy the dog and, or we only have one, let's change it to select multiple. All right. So there's Chewy, allow multiple selections on. So now we can choose Chewy. We could do a search for Shane. There I am. Okay. So now we're both selected, and then we would just go over here and we would write a version of a concat again, very similar to what we just written here, right? So it would be combobox2.selectedItems, and then we'd say, give me their, it's called mail. It's not called email for whatever reason. And then we'll separate those by that semicolon like we talked about. And there you go. So there is our 2 email addresses for you to send an email. All right. Now, the other things I'll kind of show you here, though, items wise, right? So that just returns a table up to that maximum of 999. If you've got more than that, you got to jump through some hoops. We're not going to go through those hoops right now, but it is possible. But remember, this is a table, so I can filter. Like, for example, if you look at this table right now, it is showing customer emails and people, like, you know, our address book's kind of full. I might go here and I might just be like, hey, what if I went and said, I want to filter this where, value needs to stay lowercase v. That is a bug in their UI. But we do value, and then we could say where PowerApps911.com is in the mail field. And so if we do that, now the list of users here is just the people that actually have PowerApps 911 email addresses, which is probably more in line with what I wanted. Kind of cool. Or if you're looking to use search user v2 and you actually want to do searching, right? So let's clear out this stuff. So you'd be like, I do want to use search, right? So you could come in here and you would just be like search term, and then you're probably going to do self.search text again. And so then now if we hit the drop down, right, we've got, we got to get it reset. All right, so now it's empty now that I reset it. But so then now if we go in here and search for Shane, right, then we get the filtered data Shane, or if we go in here and search for Chewy, right, we'll get the Chewy's emails. And so what's happening in this case is it's not searching locally, right? It is dynamically updating the items property by passing whatever you're typing in here into the search term. And so then that is how those dots are getting connected. So you're not worried about like it not searching everything, because it's not the app, it's not that 800 limit and the control we talked about. It is the data source, in this case, Office 365 users, is doing its own search. So all the things you want to do with that would take effect. And just this self.search text lets you kind of use their UI that's already there. You're just kind of hijacking their search box. All right, I think that's everything I've got for today. Hopefully this gets your head wrapped around all the cool things that you can do with the combo box, you know, and kind of getting that comparison of the PowerApps Modern Combo Box with the PowerApps Classic Combo Box and kind of seeing how all those things work together. Questions, comments, leave them below. I'm always curious what you guys got going on. And with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day.